Hola, hola, Pepsi Colas. Coach Ryan Christie here, Authentic Alpha, Holistic Life Coaching. Holistic health, mind, body, and spirit, deeper connection, and better balance. So today I want to talk about principle number 2 in the Kybalion. Number 1 is the all is mind, and the mind is all, and the all that is all. This is a mental universe. We live in the mind of God. Number 2 is correspondence. So you hear this a lot, but I don't think people totally understand it. But this is the point, it's ever growing, is correspondence is everything is connected. And it's just finding the different ways that everything is connected. So as above, so below. As within, mental universe, this is why that's number 1. We always go back to that. As within, so without. So mind creates our reality. So that's the first correspondence to think about, is this connection that, okay, we live in a mental universe. It's the most important, the mind of God. So for us, our mental universe is the most important. And it dictates all the other principles. So correspondence is perspective, greater perspective. So I had some notes. Let me just read off my notes, please. So put your mind in a different perspective to see the world and universe as a greater expansive, like it's infinity. It's ever expanding. So I put space of time. So some movie examples of correspondence, especially ones that I love, the Gulliver's Travels. So you have this great Lilliputian where he's a giant, Gulliver is, and then it's flipped. And in the Jack Black one, he's a little girl's doll in the dollhouse. So in Lilliputian land, he's the big giant and he's able to do everything. And in his real world, it's not like that. He's lacking courage. So he builds it up through his adventures. But this is part of it, the similarities. So he gets to experience what it's like to be very little when someone's very big, and vice versa, and then the normal size. So new, different experiences of seeing the connections, right? Honey, I Shrunk the Kids as well. That's one that I grew up with. So the kids get shrunk, and then they dive into the microverse of basically their backyard. And then they befriend an ant. They call it Auntie. They get this close connection to it. The ant defends them against the scorpion. So once again, another way of seeing this correspondence that, okay, the micro world, okay, it's not just about bigger, but about when you can shrink it down as well. The film Contact with Jodie Foster was an amazing film for so many different ways, bridging this gap between science and spirituality, I think is beautiful. But the opening scene is awesome. And it's this, you just zoom out and you keep zooming out. So from Earth, and then it's zoom, 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 zoom out, and it demonstrates how noisy Earth is and how far away that you can hear it. So it keeps zooming out of our universe, and it keeps going and it keeps going. It's wow, how big is, we live on this little speck within this super expansive universes, galaxies, whatever you want to call it. And then at the end of the opening scene, it goes to the eye of the little girl. Well, Jodie Foster is a little girl. So the universe being within as well, and it, our reminder is our eyes. And there's another film where they talk about that the spirit is in the eyes, or the soul is in the eyes. So when you die, then your next body, you still have the same eyes. You take your eyes with you, and it shows the science way to prove spirituality within that, never-ending lives. So those are some examples. Emotions, Inside Out is another cartoon film which I think is great. It's the inner verse of the emotions and what's going on there and how we can get a better understanding. I think it's a great film for adults and children, but another way of showing this connection and correspondence. Mandelbrot set is another interesting example of correspondence, where you just keep zooming in and you see the same shape keeps popping up time and time and time again. So the man that discovered it, his last name is Mandelbrot. So check that out as well. Et voila. So the principle of correspondence is ever expanding. It's connects everything. We are in this mind of God, this mental universe. And finding the connections is the most exciting because they're never-ending story. Reach out. If you have any questions or comments, let me know. Principle number 2, correspondence. Correspond is to connect. Writing a correspondence.